Welcome back to the RMP. I'm Zach, your host of this motherfucking podcast. And you can find me on Instagram at the Muscle Hamster, and we're here to question the mess, make some real actions, and start living life on our own terms. Speaking of, there's a topic I want to talk about today, and you're going to absolutely love it and probably be annoyed by what I'm fucking saying, but I think it's important. So I watched 47 Ronin. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I halfway watched it because I have a not so secret crush on Keanu Reeves, but I also watched it because I absolutely love, out of all the cultures, I really, really love the Japanese culture, the historic, like ancient Japanese culture with the samurais and the honor and their discipline and the rigidity and oh man, it's absolutely amazing. The taking one's life, like taking your own life, is super raw to me, but it is a super cool movie. It's way out there. I think this movie itself is a complete manifestation of just a story that people wanted to tell. But from what I understand, the 47 Ronin is a very real thing, which the Ronin are samurais that are no longer honorable, that exist without a master, if I remember right. But fantastic movie. Acting was a little rough, but I like the basis. I like the foundation of it. Now, I wanted to make a podcast episode today based on what today is. Do you know what today is? And I wanted to do that because, number one, I'm not really good at remembering holidays and trying to represent and trying to bring recognition into particular events, points in history, things that are really good for us to remember. But this one I do remember. It's just I was very young at the time. I was in 6th grade, I think, when this happened. So I mostly want to express everything that I want to express in the episode, so I'm not going to waste too much time. I hope everybody's doing fucking amazing. I've been in the gym kicking my ass lately. I hope you guys are doing the same. I hope you guys are really thinking about where our attention is at. Please pay attention to where your attention is at. I know it seems exhausting, but everything that we do day to day, every thought and every action leads to a future direction in which we're going to lead our lives. So our dreams can exist, and they can be very clear, and they can be very important, but it makes no difference if we don't change the way that we think, which changes the way that we act, and as long as we have the capacity and the courage to act. So without any further ado, let's get to this episode. This is episode 108, remembering 9/11 and the positives of devastation. So I don't know about the rest of you, but I barely remember 9/11. I barely remember that day. I was 13, I think. In a weird way, I actually feel a little bit of shame every time this day passes year after year because it's so fuzzy. It would seem more admirable of me as a human, as a fellow person of this nation, to be able to recall the day and the minutes I knew what had happened, and I just don't. It's a gray set of intermittent images of being in a classroom, shutting off all the lights, and turning on a TV to watch the smoke rise from the first tower that had been hit. It's just a few grainy images. But to my credit and the credit of many, I was 13. My world was not much bigger than a handful of friends, homework, and the escalating obsession with all the parts of maturing girls in my classes. And you have to we were boys. We were boys once. What I do remember, though, is this clarity coming from me after taking this in, maybe after a few days or a few weeks, and as it did for a lot of us, I'm sure that we're just humans, that we're humans that were part of that these humans that were a part of my culture, that were a part of my country, that were dying, and not just dying, but suffering. And it was people thousands of miles away that I'd never met, but felt some sort of abstract, indirect pain for. 3,000 people after accumulation that I didn't know the names of, and that were somehow my people. A lot of things happened that day and the days following. America realized that we weren't exactly impenetrable. We weren't invincible, and we've been maybe a little too proud to the point that we were far too comfortable, realizing that we were far too comfortable. It's like the kid that dares to do everything that risks life and limb until they have a little bit of timidity come into play after they have that first fall from the roof that breaks their arm. Yeah, Superman does have kryptonite. We found out that people, whether from resentment or just differences in belief, wanted to hurt us and to prove something, whatever that proof of something meant. And I think we realized that other people not only wanted to hurt us, but could. We may have been the greatest military power, but it doesn't mean we could live unscathed or unthreatened. We had to think that there were other people out there that maybe didn't believe the same things as us and held some things against us. But I think the biggest thing that we realized, whether societally conscious or not, is that our pettiness and our drama was nothing anymore. That small differences and biases no longer mattered, because we once again in history had been threatened by something bigger than ourselves, and we wanted to come together as one set people and do something about it. And American pride, although it can be obnoxious and toxic when it's at our worst, it is the very thing that we needed to feel as one again, to stand our ground and to fight back against people that wanted to do this damage to us. Now, the reason I say any of this is because I'm very honestly just exhausted by the same pettiness that seems to be going on right now. And it seems tenfold. It seems worse than it was then. And obviously I was only 13. I didn't know very much. I didn't see very much. But at this point in my life, in my 30s, I see so much of this. We squabble over differences and so-called injustices. We glorify and blanket the whole nation with our issues and our resentment and pain that we say we supposedly cause each other. We preach of murder and violence and discrimination and suppression. We bitch under our breath about our opposition, the woke and entitled Democrats, the violent and ignorant Republicans, if we're speaking towards politics. The whole nation is in an uproar about racism and sexism and patriarchy and gun laws and abortion and equality and climate change. And even though these are all very real things, the more we focus on it, the more we encompass it and create this story that it is all that exists. And I think in the day-to-day, we know that that's not true, except we refuse to recognize that. Fuck, dude, where did our pride go? Where did love and liberty and freedom and respect go? What happened to living for the best of ourselves? What happened to strong friendships and culture? What happened to being an industrial and technological superpower? A nation full of ideas and of imagination. A country built on hard work and recognition and support. Like, why would we not want to be a part of this? Why are so many people turning away from this now? And it's because there's so much internal resentment, and there's so much bias, and there's so much idea that we actually hate each other, and that everything is corruption and everything is manipulation and everything's shallow, when it comes down to one particular thing. And I'll tell you, we destroyed it ourselves as individuals, and we destroy it still. I put a lot of responsibility and therefore a lot of anger in our leaders. They're supposed to be doing something for us. Leaders should be for the people, not for themselves. A leader bears the burden to protect and serve, not manipulate and take advantage of. But the people, us, will always be the strongest part of this country. And as long as we stay strong enough and not let its foundation be destroyed, it can remain that way. But it's to each individual to think of bearing burden the same way every leader and hero should, to create that greatness. Not to complain about it and not to glue ourselves to comfort and impulse. The nation is in disarray because of us, because of our pettiness and desire to find things wrong, because it's gotten so hard to face the fear or even see the challenges for ourselves, the things that make us strong individuals. Keeping ourselves occupied and focused on bigger things, greater things, is where our healing lies and where our power lies. Individual sovereignty and freedom and power makes us better. 300 million plus individuals makes us the strongest nation, not the politicians and their fucking nonsense. Look, I'm not saying we need another war to shake us about. We can change a nation without it. But without awareness and taking everything into consideration about what we've learned about ourselves, nothing can actually change. So on this day of remembering, I hope we can all remember what really matters. Becoming an individual, that means you, force of creativity, fortitude, pride, and success. In whatever way that makes sense to you. It's the very definition of freedom and liberty. It's based on our individuality. Let's get over our bullshit and become one again. In our friendships, our community, and our nationwide. If you so please, if you care to be a part of this thing. But I fucking love you all. Stay strong and stay rebel-minded. This is your host, Zach. Out. Hey guys, I hope that all things we've brought here, including the people, have helped you change the way that you see the world. And if it has, then it would help us so much if you leave a rating and a comment on iTunes or give any feedback wherever you listen to the RMP. Thank you for listening in, and don't forget to follow and subscribe. Question everything, my friends.